So here are the 5 pairs that I will be discussing this evening: the Euro Pound, the Aussie Kiwi, the Pound Swiss, the Euro Swiss, as well as the Euro Aussie. So let's go ahead and pull up the charts. The first chart is the Euro Pound. If you recall, during yesterday's report, I was using this tentative resistance line, the thin blue line here, and saying for aggressive traders an entry at 90.15 with a stop at 90.30. Prices did come up to that level after I did speak and made a high of 90.27. And it did so during the European session. You should still be in that trade, assuming a spread of less than 2.7 pips. So if you're in that trade right now, I would continue to hold the trade. Prices right now about 89.57, and continue to hold because I am expecting an eventual downside breakout here. So again, I'm just going to sit tight now, hold the trade, and actually move the stop up to break even, which would be the entry point at 90.15. So again, moving the stop to 90.15 if you did enter that trade, and again, that was for aggressive traders. The next chart is the Aussie Kiwi, and if you recall during yesterday's report, I was mentioning the potential for an evening star reversal pattern, and that's exactly what we did get. However, I mentioned that I would require an entry at 25.50, placing a stop at the figure at 126, and prices never came up. I believe the high they made was 25.39, so I did miss that trade by about 11 pips, and you know, that's just part of trading. That's okay, and we're just going to sit on the sidelines and wait for the next opportunity on this pair. The next chart is the Pound Swiss, and prices did bounce substantially off that lower channel line that I've been using for the past several reports. I mentioned during yesterday's report an entry at 163.70 with a stop at 163.10. So hopefully you were able to get in that trade, and if you're in that trade right now, I would go ahead and exit with the 100 pip gain, or excuse me, right now it would be a 90 pip gain at 64.60. So again, I would be flat on the Pound Swiss, and I would hold again the Euro Pound short. So we're going to exit now at 64.60 with a 90 pip gain on the Pound Swiss. The next chart is the Euro Swiss, and not much has changed since yesterday. Again, volatility has been very light in this pair. Still on the long side here off this doji candle, the low of the doji, 147.22. So as I mentioned yesterday, I favor long trades here. Yesterday the prices were at 47.46. So if you're listening to this report for the first time, I would go ahead and enter now. Entry at 147.50 with a stop at 147.20. And if you were listening to yesterday's report, you were long from 147.46, so about the same price point. The next chart and last chart is the Euro Aussie, and not much has really changed here. As I mentioned yesterday, I was looking for favorable candlestick patterns, and obviously we could see a rally off the lows there near that 155 figure. So right now with prices at about 57.21, there were no trades obviously yesterday during the report, but I do like the potential for prices to eventually come up and test the previous support line, which might now act as resistance. And I believe this low point, let me get the exact low here, is 149.47. So again, that's about 200 pips away, but that's a level that we can look at, and I would look for possible entry at about 59.25 with a stop right near that figure at 160. So again, that would be short 159.25 with a stop at 160, but I don't see that materializing within the next 24 hours, and I'll certainly update during tomorrow's report. Again, my name is Matt Russell. Thanks for listening, and please stay tuned for a preview of the Daily FX forums. I want to take this opportunity to formally welcome you all to the Daily FX forums. I want to go through the process of how I personally access the forums and how maybe you at home, if you want to access the forums in the future, might do so. The first thing you would do is go to www.dailyfx.com, and that will bring up, obviously, dailyfx.com, and usually there on the upper right hand corner I'll go ahead and click on where it says forum, and that will bring up the first page of the forums. And this view, I personally don't use this view, but this view actually shows you the most recent posts on all the threads within the different sections and a little detail about those posts, so you can read through and see if there's something catches your interest. But personally, I go ahead and just click on forums and view them in the more traditional sense. Now, these are different threads within the forum. There's a section on education, such as Daily FX course instructor tips, which would be good for newer traders, and then for more advanced traders. And I just want to go ahead, personally, the way I use the forums is I would go through the individual threads, just looking for trade ideas, maybe looking at charts, looking at certain lines that maybe I didn't put up on my chart, but another trader might have put up on their chart. I tend to, shy away from using direct trade recommendations from other forum members, but it helps me to sort of even out my analysis, make sure that I'm seeing things with the right mind in terms of I might be missing stuff that other traders can see, and that's my personal way of using the forum. Every trader is going to be a little bit different in how they use it. So if you want to ask questions, if you want to become an active participant of the members, you would have to go ahead and register. So that's what I'm going to go through now, is the registration process. So assuming you're brand new to the forums, or maybe you've been here a few times and you're not really sure how it works, so I just want to walk through again the registration process. This would be the front page where you would access, or the previous page. You'd have the same little box here on the left hand side. Obviously, my username and password are already filled out here, but assuming you're a new member, you would click on where it says register, and that will bring up the registration page. If you give me one moment here while my browser loads. And actually first we're going to have some terms of service and DailyFX forum rules. I do suggest reading through the forum rules. Obviously, profanity and spam and things like that are not allowed, but it also gives you insight on how to use the forum and how different traders can use it, in terms of their individual needs. So you would go down to the bottom there. You'd click on where it says I have read all the rules, and then you would go ahead to the register, the formal registration page, and that will bring up here. And you can go ahead and select the username, and how about we'll use 4x, and that name is already in use, so maybe add a few more x's there. Again, it really, your individual username is up to you, and you go ahead and fill in your password, your email address. Now, the most difficult aspect of registration for the DailyFX forums will be figuring out these letters in the box here. Now, I'm a semi-intelligent person, but I have a very difficult time figuring out which letters and numbers to use. Now there is a reason for this madness. It helps with security, but I would suggest just going ahead and keep on clicking that refresh image until something comes through that you can actually identify and see. Then you can go ahead and enter your birthday, but you can decide whether or not to display that to other forum members. And then also, if you were referred by somebody, you can enter that information there. The time zone, that should default to your computer, but you should double check and make sure. And then you can opt in, and I would suggest opting in for these emails in terms if the administrators want to go ahead and send you some notices about the forum, and then you would complete registration. Now what happens is they would send you an email to the email address that you put up here, and that email will include a link, and all you would have to do is go ahead and click on that link, and that link will bring you inside the forum, and you would now be a member of the DailyFX forums. Again, this is Matt Russell. Thanks for listening.